Good morning, everyone. Welcome to week 5. We're really in the home stretch for our class. Um, I want to remind you that week 5 is a really, really busy week. So make sure that you've stayed on top of everything. If you have any assignments for previous weeks that are due, the only ones that I can accept would be I can accept week 4's paper by this coming Saturday, so 1 week late for any assignment, and I do not accept late observations or any late work in week 6. So this is the home stretch, and if you have anything overdue from last week, get it in by this Saturday. This would be, that will give you credit. There will be a late penalty, but at least you'll get some credit for the work. So a couple of things. I love the discussion this week. Play is one of my favorite topics to talk about. And we really had a wonderful discussion, and you guys did a fabulous job talking about the different developmental stages of play. Oh, I just noticed you can see I have on, I'm involved with therapy dogs. So in case you were interested what this logo was, I go out with my dog and we go to nursing homes and we go to the airport to bring comfort to people. So that just as a little aside in case you were curious about the logo. But just going on about the rest of our work. Also in week 4, we talked about kindergarten readiness, and I thought that this week's video, it may be a good opportunity for me to talk a little bit about redshirting. If you haven't heard about redshirting, it's a sports term, but it's the practice of keeping children out of kindergarten when they're otherwise age eligible. For instance, in Connecticut, a child to be kindergarten age eligible is 5 on or before January 1st. In Massachusetts, that age is set by each individual district. So we'll just talk about Connecticut now because it's easier with that one cut date. Parents have the option to opt out of kindergarten. Districts have to offer it, but a parent may choose to keep their child out of school till age 7. So what in essence that does is it creates a very large age range in kindergarten. You could have a child at 4 years old in kindergarten, and you could have a 6-year-old in kindergarten. And as you may imagine, it makes it very difficult to plan instructions because there's a very big difference developmentally between a 4-year-old and a 6-year-old. So if you hear about redshirting and the gift of time, please know that although parents do know their children best, that the research has not really panned out to show that there's an advantage of holding an otherwise age eligible child out after grade 3. That fades, those gains fade out. I do every year get phone calls from families with questions like, I'm having an argument with my husband. He wants to keep my son out of kindergarten because he wants him to be bigger to play high school football. I have to tell you that I don't think that that's a really good reason to hold a child out. The other thing to know about redshirting is families tend to hold out boys more often than girls, which tends to weight the classes awkwardly now too, because then you have older boys in classes with 4-year-old girls. And not that there are gender differences, but there are developmental differences. So just keep that in mind when you think about kindergarten readiness. And many of you did a very nice job of talking about kindergarten readiness isn't so much about making sure a child can count and knows their numbers and their colors and all those other things, although those are important skills for them. It's really about the schools, the community, and the family being ready for kindergarten, knowing that any child that is age eligible for kindergarten should have the opportunity to go to kindergarten. And that I've actually had a call this past week. I had a family of a young child that had a disability who felt that there should be some kind of kindergarten readiness test and kids not being allowed into kindergarten unless there's a readiness test. And that would be really discriminatory. We need to make sure, especially for young children with disabilities, that their IEPs are designed with appropriate supports and services so they can access their general education environment in kindergarten. So I just wanted to make sure you knew a little bit about that before we start talking about our new topics this week. So we talked about getting ready for kindergarten. This week, we're going to actually talk about what you would see in kindergarten. What are the different aspects of the kindergarten, and look at, so what does a typical kindergartner look like? What kind of learning should be going on? What are the environments they should be in? And what are the basics of the curriculum that they should be experiencing in a kindergarten classroom? This week, we are going to be reading chapters 9 and 12. So you're going to be reading about kindergarten and about guiding behavior. And our discussion this week is going to be about guiding behavior. So think a little bit about positive behavior supports and how a kindergarten can be set up, or any early childhood environment be set up to encourage positive behaviors and to guide children's behavior in a positive way. So that's all I have for you for this week, other than reminding you that you do have a lot of work due this week. You have your observation due, you have your written assignment about guiding behavior, and you have our discussion this week about literacy and reading. So if you have any questions, as always, I'm available. Send me an email. I will get back to you as soon as I'm able to. And then I have one other thing I want to add. Coming up probably sometime at the end of week 5 or beginning of week 6, you're going to be sent a link to your course evaluation. And I'm going to ask you very, very sincerely, please make sure that you complete that. I can't improve my practice unless you give me feedback, and it's really, really important to me. The feedback I get for every course that I teach, I take very seriously, and I do try to improve my practice based on the comments and the feedback I do get from students. So I really appreciate that, and I'm telling you that in advance. Have a wonderful week. We're in the home stretch. Some of you they're really at the home stretch the last couple of weeks until you finish your coursework to graduate. So look forward to speaking with all of you and to seeing all of your work. Have a great week.